Hello everyone, I'm Al Grego, and this is the Yes We Are Open podcast. As you can probably tell, that is not the sound of Bigfoot. Today, I'm back in Ontario with my trusty old Kia. Bigfoot and I will always have Calgary. Kia and I just arrived in Niagara Falls, also known as the Honeymoon Capital of the world, located on the western bank of the Niagara River, about 130 kilometers from Toronto, around Lake Ontario's western shore. The first account of a European discovering the falls goes back as early as 1604, when French explorer Samuel de Champlain visited the area, and members of his party described spectacular waterfalls during their exploration. 200 years later, tourism became the main industry in the area, and it quickly became a popular destination for honeymooners. The area, initially known as Township No. 2 in 1782, went known by many other names, including Mount Dorchester, then Stamford in 1791, then Clifton in 1856, before finally becoming the village of Niagara Falls in 1881, and then incorporating as the city of Niagara Falls in 1904. With a plentiful and inexpensive source of hydroelectric power from the waterfalls, Niagara Falls became home to many electrochemical and electrometallurgical industries in the mid-20th century. But due to economic recession, industry began moving out of the area in the 70s and 80s, leaving tourism as the city's most important revenue source. Although hydroelectricity is still a big deal in the area, Niagara Falls provides a quarter of all power used in both New York State and Ontario. But again, tourism is the main game. On the Canadian side, there are 2 casinos, hotels, restaurants, museums, amusement rides and attractions, and so much more. The majority of it concentrated on Clifton Hill, one of the major tourist promenades of the city. Niagara Falls knows what it is, a tourist destination hosting over 12 million visitors each year. Yet, there are also 94,000 residents who live mostly away from the craziness of Clifton Hill and go about their lives normally, and their businesses, while tourist adjacent, also rely on the locals to keep their doors open. Today I'm visiting one of those businesses, just on the edge of local and the hustle and bustle of Niagara Falls, the attraction. It's a family-run business that's been going on for over 45 years. That business is Italian Ice Cream. I parked across the road from the Skyline Hotel. Just beyond, I can see Casino Niagara and a water park. But I'm walking away from the touristy-looking buildings along Victoria Avenue towards what appears to be a more local area. There are still restaurants, but there's also a park, and beyond that, houses. I approach a building on my right with a patio with tables and umbrellas. It's a nice sunny day, so there are some people sitting out on that patio drinking coffee and chatting. I walk into the building, and there are a few more tables and some patrons sitting and having a coffee in there. It is late morning after all. To my left is a large glass display with a bunch of different flavors of ice cream. Beyond that is a coffee bar, and a worker busily making espressos. Just beyond the bar are some stairs leading up to a higher level, and some more seating. That's where I meet Andrew, the owner.
Andrew? How are you? I'm well, how are you? Nice to meet you. Pleasure. How was the drive?
This area is empty, so we pick a table in the corner and sit for our interview.
Hi, my name's Andrew Vergalito. I'm the owner-operator of Italian Ice Cream. We established in 1978. My parents, Joe and Anna, started with just the thought of having something for the summertime, which developed over the years to what we are today.
Were your parents first generation Canadian? Or?
They were born in Italy, moved to, actually my mother came here in her teenage years, worked. My father from Italy moved to South America, from South America, came here and married my mom. They actually met through pictures.
Oh.
He was in South America and my mother was here in Niagara. A mutual friend brought them together through pictures and they started writing letters, you know. They got married through proxy.
Really?
Yeah, and then there was just
original online dating.
Yeah, It was a thought my father had, saw that there was something lacking in the Niagara area. I had an uncle and aunt in Toronto that had a similar place on St. Clair, and it was something that he liked to do, and it was something for Italians to go to, have espresso and have some of the products. And back then in the 70s and the early 80s, getting Italian products wasn't as easy as it is today.
In terms of Italian population, what was it like here in Niagara Falls?
There was actually, there was, I'd say about 30% were Italians, or, there was quite a bit. Like just when Italy won the cup in 82, okay, this street was all blocked off. So we had people everywhere. When we opened up, I was 8 years old.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in Niagara Falls?
It was fun. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Growing up, we had, at the time, Maple Leaf Village, which was a scaled-down amusement, like a Canada's Wonderland, but very scaled down. You know, it was, especially growing up here. Here is like the middle of both worlds. You turn left, you're in the tourist area. Right. You turn right, and you're in the local residential areas. Yeah. I saw both. So, you know, people that lived on the other side of Niagara didn't see the tourism like I saw. The traffic, you know, when the long weekends came, I couldn't get in or get out of my driveway because it was bumper to bumper. Yeah. Seeing the bridge backed up for hours. Yeah. You know, unless you were here in that area, you wouldn't see that. And the biggest tourist sector was the Americans. Yeah. It always has been. Sure. So you saw in the summertime, all American planes. And for us, we had a lot of American clientele that come. And then we would get also European tourists. Sure. So we'd get, you know, Spanish, the Italians coming on their tour, and they would be doing a bus tour, and this was one of their stops.
I mean, now it's a year around us, especially with all the casinos and stuff. But back then, was it much busier in the summer, and was winter a little quieter? Or?
Winter, they would joke that the streets would close up, the sidewalks will roll up, and you know, there was nothing. Like Clifton Hill, the tourist area, they were closed in the wintertime. There was nothing going on. And now, because of things like the casino, have brought year-round business. I remember when the casino first opened up, we started seeing people on weekends in the winter. You know, growing up, you never wanted to be working for your parents, and just you wanted to do other things. Sure. And I worked in restaurants. I actually had my own place in Sherkston for a summer. I worked at the border, customs as a student. Yeah, I even worked in construction for a season too.
So you really fought against working in a family business.
Yeah. You know, as I got older, as my parents got older, and I saw that they needed more help, and it slowly progressed to that. You look back and you're like, okay, what happened? You know, and then what really triggered everything was my father passed away. Right.
You said that happened in
94. He passed away. Like, he was sick during the summer, so I had to really work and take care of here. And I did it with my sisters, a family, like everyone pitched in. Two sisters.
So three siblings total?
Yeah, and then I had my brother-in-laws, both brother-in-laws, and then they had kids, and then they all worked and everything. And during that time was the hardest because it was a decision. We're going to keep the family business going or sell it and get rid of it. And there was just too much history here.
Yeah. Was this always the location?
This was always a location. This street was all houses. Okay. The original building was built in 1909. And it was, at the time, from history that I found, houses were doctors and lawyers. And it was because they were bigger houses. Yeah. Became boarding house over the years and everything. And my father purchased it in 75. Once he decided, basically, he ripped down the porch and added on.
Right. So you're nice and close here to the casino and to some hotels and stuff. So you get a lot of traffic.
Just close enough. And just far enough.
So from all the noise.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot. And and that's changing also. Sure. Now with Google, you know, technology, people can find other spots. Right. It was harder before. Sure. Because once they were in that trap of the tourism, they couldn't see outside of that.
Let's talk about like what the services you provide here. Like you're a cafe, so you got coffee, obviously espressos and all that kind of kind of stuff? And ice cream?
Yeah, we make gelato. We make it all here.
You make it?
Yeah, from scratch. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what I do. I spend most of my time doing that. I actually sell to other places. I'm licensed to do that under the Ontario government.
So how did you learn to do that?
It was something my father only did. And when my father got sick that year, I had to learn trial and error. But I had an uncle who did it for years, my uncle Servino in Toronto, and he had a stroke too, so he wasn't able to work. So he came down and gave me some pointers, which really helped me out. Not having my father take me through it. And then over the years, I've done some courses. I've worked with some different chefs in the area. I customize flavors for them. I went to Italy to do some things. I'm always trying to learn more about the whole industry and everything like that.
Yeah. Your coffee, do you import it from Italy? Or?
No, it's roasted actually in Toronto area. Rufino, excellent coffee, consistent. Been using them over 10, 12 years. I don't even know. But people don't realize the science behind what goes into making a great, consistent coffee. Humidity and temperature plays a big role because of the oils. The way the coffee's roasted, the darker roast and the type of beans, what temperature you're brewing your espresso, and getting the crema on top and the grind and maintaining your machine. There's so many things, and we can have a bad day with coffee. I hear from my customers, so I gotta look, I gotta clean the machine, adjust, making sure, testing, trying, and away we go.
So you take it pretty seriously?
Yeah. The gelato, the service, our coffee, it's no different if you went to any family-run restaurant where they're making their own, they take pride in their thing. If you said their meal or whatever they produced for you was subpar, that would hurt them. They was like, well, what's wrong with it? And they would try to fix it. We take pride, like everything we do, we make sure we're using the best ingredients. Like our coffee too, we just don't have regular espresso. We make sure it's great espresso. Our machine, it's got to be not just a regular machine. It's got to be a consistent, it's got to be a good machine. When you have the right tools, it makes the job easier.
Sure. Andrew definitely has the right tools. My espresso was perfect. Up next, since Andrew took over the family business in the early 90s, the cafe has enjoyed many ups and downs, as would any business this close to a tourist hotspot like Niagara Falls. But what has been his biggest challenge? Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to Yes, We Are Open. Andrew Vergalito's family business, Italian Ice Cream, opened in 1978 and has served the Italian and adjacent communities of Niagara Falls for almost 46 years. After his father's passing in 1994, Andrew stepped in to keep his legacy alive and continue the business. Now, 30 years later, Andrew has seen many changes in the area and endured many struggles. How has he fared? Let's find out. You opened in 78, we're talking what?
June will be 46 years.
46 years open.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yep.
And like you mentioned about struggle, like economy is always something, to whatever, anything that affects tourism. But what has been your biggest struggle in the last 46 years?
Wow. There's been a few. I think the most trying times was going through COVID.
Sure.
Trying to figure that out. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a terrible time, but it was like you were faced with some situations where you had to like act fast and change and do something to survive. When it hit in March, I'll never forget it. I was doing a delivery to a restaurant and I was watching them closing up everything. I didn't realize that they started closing up things. Right. I was still going about my work. And I suddenly go like, oh, you're here today. And yeah, it was, as of today, we're closed. I went, really? You want me to take this product back? And then from there, it was like I had the wholesale part of the business that just ended right then and there. There was just like half of the business gone. And then we had to go with what, as these government regulations came in, we dealt with them. Yeah. You had to be a little bit flexible. Yeah. I took it day by day. I was looking at different things at the time. I'll tell you the truth. I try to keep busy. I worked myself, so I laid everyone off. Yeah. Then when the government incentives come in to bring people back, I didn't want to lose my good employees. Sure. I brought them back to work when I could. That helped. I did a lot of stuff myself. I changed. I added some things for it. I actually did renovations during that time.
Yeah, took advantage.
I took advantage. I started working, cleaning things, moving this. I did all that. That kept me busy, and I didn't think about it. Dietary trends was another big thing. Sherbets can have milk in them. Ours are 100% dairy-free, vegan-based. And a lot of our gelato, all the stabilizers are plant-based. Our base is gluten-free. The only time there's any gluten, which is a big issue, is when there's a cookie in there. We're peanut-free, and all our products that we bring in are peanut-free because of allergies. So that has been another thing for us, is adapting to some of the dietary allergies and actually learning along the way. Until maybe 15 years ago, I never knew what a celiac was.
Right. Yeah.
And I had to learn about people have allergies to corn and the dextrose, that you could use and what you can't use. And people allergic to, especially when they're going through some treatments, medical treatments, some things that they can use and not use. I get asked quite a bit about, is there gelatin? And if so, is it plant-based or is it animal-based? Right. Ours is plant-based. And there's no gelatin in it. It's just stabilizers and emulsifiers from plants. Since COVID happened, the world changed. It got to the point where these suppliers or distributors didn't care what things, they just automatically changed their prices. Right. Sugar, cocoa, we had problems finding stuff, getting things, boxes, paper products, because paper mills shut down. I had problems getting boxes that I put my products in. Shipments were slower. Like my suppliers would tell me, 4 to 6 weeks they would get the stuff. It was taking them up to 4 or 5 months. Yeah. What I did is, instead of having one supplier for cocoa or sugar, I found ways to find 2 or 3. Right. So I would go from one to the other, and I would keep more things. And it was difficult because we didn't know what business was going to be like. It wasn't like you had this magic book that says, okay, during COVID, this is what your sales are going to be. Yeah. You had nothing. You're going blind. So you didn't want to order too much things, and you didn't want to order too little things. Yeah. So you kept ordering to keep things up. Business was good during the pandemic. Yeah. And anybody who adapted to the pandemic they trimmed a lot of fat. Right. I had specific hours. Yeah. This, it. Okay. I had my phone call forwarded to my cell, the store phone. So if someone did call to pick up something, I was able to do something else. I had more time. I actually was able to spend time with my family more. Right at the beginning of COVID, the year before COVID happened, my daughter was born. So it was during the best time I was able to spend. The clients that we have, the customers we have, we've known for years. They were very loyal. They came, if we had to change something to adapt, they went with it. They, and we tried to accommodate as much as possible. We brought stuff to the cars. I was even doing deliveries during that time. Just bring it to the house, whatever they needed. Yeah. I was trying to do. They were very good. Did we make mistakes and everything during these trial periods? Yeah, many. I initially had another company doing my debit credit, and I kept on having issues. Went to Moneris, and everything was great. Along the way, you get all these companies. We get companies calling, we're going to do cheaper, we're going to do cheaper, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Made the mistake, and I say it now, switched. I think it lasted 2 years or less. Called Moneris back, and we've been with them ever since. We never had any issues, and if anything did arise, they fixed it, adjusted it. When COVID hit, I had a wired machine, and that was just what it was. And it was like, okay, what can I do? And I was going through, because it was changing dramatically. So I was like, okay, we're going to start online. What service do you have? Well, we can give you the gateway to do it. And with my web provider, working with Moneris Bank, put it in, seamless. And then as we started seeing this opening, closing scenarios happen, and people weren't coming into the stores yet, they were staying in their car. So what did we do? Again, called up Moneris, my rep, and literally it was, here's my situation, here's my question. And they would say, here are your solutions. And literally within a week, everything's up and running.
Coming up after the break, we find out what the future holds for Italian ice cream.
Success in business doesn't come without moments of struggle. Moments when you had to face your challenges head on. As the proud partner of Canadian business, Moneris plays a critical role in empowering businesses with the payment processing tools they need to succeed. Together, we are building stronger businesses where business owners everywhere can stand up to their challenges without slowing down. Moneris, proud partner of Canadian business.
Welcome back to Yes, We Are Open. For 46 years, Italian ice cream has been a fixture in Niagara Falls for both locals and visitors alike. And Andrew Vergalito has continued in his father's footsteps at the helm, steering the family business to success. So what does the future hold for Italian ice cream? Let's find out. You mentioned your daughter was born just before the pandemic?
Yes, 2018.
So she's 5 years old now.
Yes, exactly.
All right. I mean, is this something where you hope one day maybe she'll take an interest and want to take over the business?
My philosophy is if this is something she would love to do, I'd be more than happy for her to do it. Mm-hmm. But it'd be something that I would want her to choose.
Like you did, because you, Lord knows, you tried every other career.
I did. And I actually, there were so many things. I probably could have had an easier time going through those other things. Yeah. Who knows? We don't know what life would have been if you just made a left turn instead of a right. Sure. And I don't look back. I don't regret anything I did. But yeah, you have to have the passion for the business to be here. Anything you do in life. Yeah. If you don't, it's just going to be a miserable time. And that's one thing I would hope. If she does decide that she would want to do this, then great. I'd do it with open arms. Like, okay, make this better. Make it easier for yourself.
Looking back at the last 46 years of business to what your dad started and what we've been building, how do you feel?
I feel good, and I know my dad would have been happy and proud because he always wanted the business to continue. And seeing how it evolved, my mom passed away 2 years ago, and she knew what my dad wanted, seeing the things that business has gone through and everything like that. Like having the values, the core values of the business stay the same. And the next generation, what it may be, keeping those values at the core of the business would make me proud. If it's my daughter, if it's another family member taking over, whatever have you, it's just that success. Every generation has to fine tune it to their era. Yeah. I keep my mind open. I don't know what's going to happen in another year with business. Could I split the two companies and have like a factory? Possibly. Could I open up more locations? Those are possibilities. There are so many things. We're always evolving, and I don't know what's going to happen when. All I know is as long as I'm enjoying doing this, I'm going to keep on evolving, keep on doing things, and putting smiles on people's faces. There's a satisfaction seeing people enjoying your product and having a good experience. You see that, it makes you feel good. The money that you're making, that's why you're in business and everything like that. But seeing that is the satisfaction in itself. That's something that you get, that's your reward.
Hey, Andrew, is Italian ice cream open?
Yes, we're open.
Perfect. That's it.
That's it.
That's the story of Italian ice cream. I think one of the most important businesses in any neighborhood that makes it feel like a real neighborhood is the cafe or coffee shop. Sadly, there isn't one nearby in my neighborhood. And here's why it's sad. Whenever I go to Portugal on vacation, one of my favorite things to experience there is the coffee culture. It's not unusual for people to go to the cafe 4 to 6 times a day. It's just part of the routine there. Their day is built around it. And it's not necessarily for the coffee. Don't tell Andrew I said that. It's for the social interaction. And it's the same around most of Europe. When I'm on vacation, I can consume on average 4 to 6 espressos each day, which is Probably not a good thing, but hey, when in Rome, or in my case Lisbon, you do as the locals do. Here at home, I've gotten the amount of coffee I consume down to 2 per day, 1 first thing in the morning and 1 after lunch. And that's usually alone when I first get up or at my desk, and none of them nearly as good as the espressos I had at Italian Ice Cream. Sad, I know. Visiting Andrew's business brings me back to that cafe culture, where people gather, sit, talk about the day, the news, or last night's game. I fear we're moving away from that too much as a society, becoming too insular. That's why I love that places like Italian Ice Cream still exist and are still such vital parts of their community. It bodes well for the future. As for Andrew and his family business, as long as he pours as much care and love into his business as he does into his espressos or his gelatos, which I tried and they were amazing, the future of Italian ice cream is bright indeed. Yes, We Were Open is a Moneris podcast production. I'd like to thank Andrew for taking time to share his story. You can learn more about Italian ice cream at italianicecream.ca. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Italian Ice Cream, and on Pinterest, they're at ItalianIceC1437. Please support this podcast by writing us a review on Apple Podcasts or rate us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a Canadian small business owner or know of one with an interesting story of perseverance to tell, I'd love to help tell it. You can contact me at podcast@moneris.com. Tune in next week for another story of small business struggle and survival on the Yes, We Were Open podcast. I'm Al Grego. Thank you for listening.